The UK's Prime Minister Boris Johnson is promising big changes following his Brexit trade deal, but his Chancellor Rishi Sunak has sought to reassure the City of London that the post-Brexit trade deal will not damage the financial services industry. A mass coronavirus vaccination campaign is underway in the European Union. The new COVID variant caused several countries to begin inoculations a day ahead of the planned rollout. Millions of Americans have temporarily lost their unemployment benefits after President Trump refused to sign the COVID economic relief bill into law. President-elect Joe Biden has warned of the devastating consequences if the bill remains unsigned. And Bangladeshi authorities are planning to move a second group of Rohingya refugees to a remote flood-prone island in the south of the country. Up to 1,000 will be moved from camps into a specially built housing complex.
Stocks ended higher in a half session before the holiday break. The Dow Jones Industrials rose 70 points to close at 30,199. The Nasdaq Composite gained 33 points. The S&P 500 rose 13. All three indexes were little changed for the week. The Nasdaq was the best performer, rising 0.4%. Markets' reaction to the latest developments on a new coronavirus aid package was relatively muted. Dueling moves in the House to boost stimulus checks and cut foreign aid were blocked, raising the possibility of a government shutdown next week. Investors welcome news that the UK and the European Union reached an historic agreement on a Brexit trade deal. It's widely believed that Brexit will hurt both the UK and EU economies, but less so than if there had been no exit deal by the year-end deadline. In corporate news, shares of Chinese e-commerce giant Alibaba fell 13%. After China stepped up pressure on the company, saying it was investigating complaints of potentially monopolistic behavior. U.S. markets are closed tomorrow for the Christmas holiday. And a final programming note, we'll also be taking a break. We're off all of next week and will return on Monday, January 4th.
The Japan Meteorological Agency says a volcanic eruption occurred on a remote island in southwestern Japan. The agency says the eruption occurred on Suwano-Seijima Island in Kagoshima Prefecture on Monday at around 2:48 a.m. Agency officials are urging caution against flying rocks and the possibility of more eruptions. Once again, the agency says the eruption occurred on Suwano-Seijima Island in the southwestern prefecture of Kagoshima at around 2:48 a.m. on Monday. Agency officials are urging caution against flying rocks and the possibility of more eruptions. The Japanese government is suspending entry of non-resident foreign nationals to Japan to prevent the transmission of coronavirus variants. The measure takes effect on Monday and will continue through January 31st. A similar restriction is already in effect for travelers from the United Kingdom and South Africa. The government is also suspending a conditional exemption of a 14-day self-quarantine for Japanese and foreign residents when they re-enter Japan after a short overseas business trip. All travelers returning to or entering Japan from parts of the world where coronavirus variants have been confirmed need to submit a negative test certificate. Travelers need to take a test within 72 hours before departure and another upon arrival in Japan. The government says it will continue to allow people to travel for business to and from 10 designated countries and a territory. A total of 2,948 new cases were confirmed across Japan on Sunday. The Tokyo metropolitan government reported 708 new cases, the highest ever figure for a Sunday. The daily tally for the capital has topped 700 for the fifth straight day. The number of patients in serious condition reached 82, the highest since the state of emergency was lifted in May. Officials say the rate of people testing positive for the virus is also on the rise in Tokyo. The rate was in the 3% range in September and October, but rose to 6% in mid-November. The positive rate reached 8.2% on Friday. The last time it was at this level was on May 3rd, when the state of emergency was still in place.
The high positive rate shows that cases are rapidly increasing. Many people who have not been tested may be carrying the virus.
More than 220,000 people in Japan have tested positive since the pandemic began. Over 3,200 have died. The health ministry says the number of serious cases stands at a record high of 659. Chinese regulators say they've identified major issues with how the large payment services provider Ant Group does business. It's affiliated with the e-commerce giant Alibaba Group and operates the payment app Alipay. Watchdogs, including the People's Bank of China and the China Banking and Insurance Regulatory Commission, announced on Sunday that it asked the group to review its business practices. Ant Group had expanded its financial services to include small lot loans and insurance. The regulators ordered that it return its focus to payment services and establish a new company to extend loans under their supervision. Alipay is estimated to have more than 1 billion users, mainly in China. Last month, Ant Group's initial public offering was suspended following a meeting between Chinese regulators and company executives. The Chinese government has been intensifying pressure on Alibaba after its founder Jack Ma criticized financial authorities. The government launched an anti-monopoly investigation of Alibaba's business activities. Coverage of North Korean leader Kim Jong-un in state-run media has fallen to its lowest level since he assumed the top post in 2012. The Tokyo-based Radio Press news agency says there have been 53 stories on Kim in North Korean media this year. That's less than half the figure for 2019. 34 of these reports focus on domestic affairs such as meetings of the ruling Workers' Party and visits to typhoon-hit areas. 15 are related to military matters, including ballistic missile launches. The only foreign affairs story was about Kim's visit to the cemetery for Chinese soldiers who died in the Korean War. Kim might have refrained from public appearances because North Korea is taking strict measures against the coronavirus. Pyongyang says there have been no cases in the country. In professional baseball, Japanese pitcher Arihara Kohei will join a U.S. Major League team, the Texas Rangers. Rangers officials said on Saturday they had signed Arihara on a 2-year contract. Some U.S. media reports say the contract is worth $6.2 million. In 2015, the right-hander joined Japan's Hokkaido Nippon Ham Fighters. He became the Pacific League's Rookie of the Year after notching up 8 wins. Arihara led the league for the most wins last year with 15. The 28-year-old pitcher had been seeking to move to the majors after this year's season.
He should be prepared to really stabilize the rotation and help provide valuable innings. We're hopeful it'll be 150 plus in a season that is still to be determined.
Arihara says he is extremely grateful to the Rangers for giving him the opportunity to play in the major leagues. He also says he is truly excited to be able to pitch in front of the Rangers fans at their home stadium. Shinto priests in Western Japan needed a head for heights on Sunday. They replaced a sacred rope over the country's highest waterfall as part of a tradition ahead of the new year. The Nachi Falls in Wakayama Prefecture are part of a UNESCO World Heritage Site. The nearby Kumano Nachi Taisha Shrine worships the falls as a deity. On Sunday, priests carried the Shimenawa rope to the top of the 133-meter-high waterfall. They attached lifelines to their waists as they hung the 26-meter rope from trees.
Kumano itself is a powerful and spiritual spot. It's also a place of revival. I hope people will come to Kumano to pray and build their strength for next year.
The falls will be lit up from sunset on New Year's Eve to early morning on January 1st. Meanwhile, craftspeople north of Tokyo have been cranking out traditional good luck dolls in the run-up to the new year. Takasaki City is Japan's top producer of Daruma dolls, which are modeled after a legendary Buddhist monk. It's been making them since the 19th century and is now home to around 50 workshops. Some of the dolls are getting a twist. They are being painted to look like cows, as 2021 will be the year of the ox. They have black patches in the shape of a gourd, seen as a good omen. In a sign of the times, artisans are also making daruma that resemble a mythical monster called Amabie. Legend has it that seeing the creature can help end an epidemic.
We just hope our dolls will make people smile, and of course that the pandemic will be brought to an end as soon as possible.
He says that nearly 2 million people have received the initial dose of the COVID-19 vaccine. Over 9.5 million doses have been distributed. This as we reach close to 19 million cases across the country, with deaths at 331,000 and nearly 60,000 people losing lives this month alone. That's as the situation is becoming increasingly dire in California, even as health officials fear that worse could be on the way, since so many people are ignoring those warnings and traveling for the holidays. ABC's Zareen Shaw is in Santa Monica with more. Good morning to you, Zareen.
Good morning, Eva. You can see these medical tents right behind me at St. John's, used for overflow patients. The situation here is grim. The county labs are looking into a new strain, if it exists here in Los Angeles. Meanwhile, we're learning that in Spain and Sweden, they have confirmed cases of a new variant, the same one that exists in the UK. This morning, with only 4 days left in 2020, December already proving to be the pandemic's deadliest month.
We have on average a person dying, every 10, 15 minutes here in LA County. That's a preventable tragedy.
And massive lines across this country for testing. We're here at Dodger Stadium. Many of these cars will wait an hour before they get to the front of the line. Based on the last week, nearly 17% of Angelenos who are testing positive. And now, with a new virus variant hitting the UK and France, there's concern it could be driving the surge here.
I would assume, as with other variants and other mutations, that given the amount of traveling that people have been doing between Thanksgiving and now the winter holiday, that in all likelihood it's here.
Now nearly 7,000 Angelenos currently hospitalized. The LA Times now reporting some hospitals are running low on oxygen supply.
This is what we were fearing, right? It's supply versus demand. So we're fearing that the demand is going to overtake the supply. That's what's going on right now.
In Texas, the rise of new cases concerning health officials. One family losing 4 family members in 2 weeks. Now celebrating Christmas and what would have been their family member, Sarah Caballero's 68th birthday.
She's with us today. She's watching over us. She's with us every step of the way.
And in Europe, a moment of hope as countries a part of the European Union have officially started a coordinated effort to administer vaccinations to adults among their 450 million citizens. More cities are expected to move into that next phase of vaccinations this week, and many of those include high-risk patients over the age of 16. But until more patients are vaccinated here in America, that death toll is expected to climb. Janae?
And Zareen, we know getting more people vaccinated is crucial in helping beat this virus. Zareen Shaw, thank you so much.
We begin with that breaking news out of Nashville, where an explosion ripped through downtown on Christmas morning. More than 250 FBI personnel are on the scene. Law enforcement receiving nearly 500 tips so far. Authorities focusing on specific properties as they search for answers. ABC's Marcus Moore joins us now from Nashville.
John, good morning. There are so many unanswered questions surrounding this bizarre case, and federal agents were at several locations on Saturday, including a home in suburban Nashville. They were searching for clues there, and law enforcement sources tell ABC News that the home, one of them, is connected to an Anthony Warner. Authorities are working to determine whether he was connected to the RV that blew up or if he was in the RV at the time of the explosion. Now, a Google Maps search of the home pulls up a picture of an RV that is similar to the one in Friday morning's blast. Another detail ABC News has learned through court records is that Warner signed the deed for his home over to a woman in California just last month. Now, how all of that is connected to this investigation is unclear. Of course, all of this started with a shots fired call early Friday morning. Police in the area came across the RV where they began hearing a recorded announcement coming